Good morning. So for this flight, I wanted to recreate another one, a fun one here. So we're starting at Dallas again. We're taking off and we're flying all the way up to Toronto. And this was, I believe this is the approach and departure that I actually did. It took a while to go through them all. I'm not 100% sure if this is perfectly accurate, but unfortunately I couldn't see Niagara Falls. I was looking at the left side of the plane. But we came in, and I remember we flew, I think we came up a little farther north, as I remember flying over Toronto when we came down and into the airport, and then parked up at the gate. But I had to go to Toronto to speak to immigration in order to get my work permit, due to the fact that I was in Montreal so much. The company lawyers wanted me to have a work permit, and then I got on a little plane and whoop, zipped up the St. Lawrence to Montreal. So this will be a two-part journey. The first leg will be up here to Toronto, and the second leg will be over to Montreal. My arrival into Montreal, I'll cover a bit more in the next one, but it was a fun one because for some reason everything was different. This is the first time I've ever landed from the north side of the island. Again, they use the St. Lawrence here as their north-south, so it technically would have been, I believe this is north-east, I think. But I came in, flew around the whole city, and came down around it, and it was really a fun way to approach it. But I really enjoyed the flight up to Toronto because it was a little different. We didn't quite fly so low. We came over the edge of the lake and then turned up. But anyway, should be a fun flight. I've got the Air Canada livery out for the A320. We had a successful arrival back in DFW from Costa Rica, so let's hope I can pull that off again.
Ground Airbus Charlie. Foxtrot X-ray Charlie Delta, could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Airbus Charlie. Foxtrot X-ray Charlie Delta, the jetway is going to be connected.
Alright, so let's get our food, let's get our bags, let's get everything loaded up and our passengers, and then we'll be ready to go. Considering the operator grabbed my car at an angle, probably should have let him push me back straight first. Wasn't quite ready for that steep of a hill on the lead up to the runway, so I didn't have my engine spooled enough, and when I made the turn I lost all my speed. Okay, we are airborne. First flaps down. Second set of flaps off. All right. Kick autopilot on. Let's get turning. This looks like I came a bit too far to the left. And for some reason, a bunch of my textures haven't downloaded. That's weird. Alright, well, I'm not sure why some of my textures aren't streaming in. Everything appears to be enabled, so just another glitch of the game, I suppose. One of the other things I didn't mention on the setup screen was that I've got this set up for real-world weather. I will likely change that on approach simply because I don't know what wind direction is currently going on out there at Toronto, so it'll just be safer if I switch it over to just one of the partly cloudy options, which is what it was when I flew in the first place. And I'm not sure if that lag is suddenly the game starting to download everything that I had asked it to put there, but we'll find out. So we were on our climb out. We're about to make our left turn where we'll head over downtown Fort Worth over there. I'm not sure why we can't see any of the buildings. Again, something's gone way wrong with data streaming. Like, I should be seeing downtown Dallas right off my left wing there. I mean, it's all right here. I have my draw distance up, so something's definitely gone wrong in the streaming aspect of the game. I'm not sure why it doesn't have a connection, so hopefully everything's good on the Toronto end, because it would really kind of kill the visual aspects of the flight to fly into Toronto when there's no Toronto there. So if Dallas isn't there when I fly by, we'll take a peek and I'll see if there's something I can do, but otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the scenery as we jump ahead to Toronto.
Airbus X-ray Charlie Delta, contact FD for center on 132.85. Going to 132.85 Airbus X-ray Charlie Delta. FT Worth Center Airbus Charlie. Foxtrot X-ray Charlie Delta is at 10.
Alright, so we are trying to get on approach here, but I've been running into a couple of issues with this thing. I'm way too high, it doesn't want to grab approach. I've been fighting with this thing the whole flipping way, so autopilot's coming off. I'm just going to have to reduce thrust to idle here and just get this plane down as best I can. I think I'm screwed. I had another weird glitch where the autopilot didn't clear a waypoint, and as a result of not clearing that waypoint, it didn't manage to come around properly, so the plane started like turning around and going crazy, and ever since then I have been running into a number of issues here trying to get the autopilot system to work properly. So it's been very sluggish and delayed. If I try to change altitudes, it just won't do it. Auto throttle's been kind of all over the place, which is partly impacting my ability to go up and down and change my altitude and all that stuff. So now I'm really trying to get this plane to go into these warehouses, apartment things in front of me. I'm only on my second level of flaps and I have the gear down, but I can't level out enough yet to slow my thrust. Otherwise, I'm going to overshoot the airport. So I'm trying to nosedive the plane here. And then now I can finally start to hit the pappies and get ready for some thrust. But I'm also going to be engaging my second layer of, or third level of flaps here in a moment, which is really going to bleed off a lot of speed and other issues. So I'm doing this one like full manual insanity mode here. And now I've got my thrust going up, speed still coming down. Let's just go full flaps and see if we can float this bad boy onto the deck here, but I'm not super confident. As you can tell, I'm overshooting and now I'm coming down way too hard because I lost too much speed. Oh man, what another nightmarish flight. Make sure I'm not on any other thrust issues here. Get the brakes to slow this sucker down. That was supremely disappointing. Not only did the graphics not work, I even, the runway's not even aligned. I exited online mode, forced it to offline, and then went back into online mode, and it just never updated. So I don't know why or what broke that's causing the system not to function quite right. That's really kind of unfortunate in my opinion, but there's nothing I can really do about that other than exit and reload the game, and that's really not kind of what I want to do at this point. I was already far enough into the flight that restarting the whole thing would take more time than anything else. Alright, so we are able to head to our parking now. Overall, considering that the majority of everything I did, from even some of the navigation, left and right turns, was all done manually through the autopilot heading features for a while there. And descent was controlled on and off autopilot, because if I left autopilot to its own devices, it wouldn't throttle the plane back enough, and because the speed was too high, it wouldn't descend fast enough. So that's why I kind of had to turn off autopilot on some of those and just drop the plane and let the speed build, which is in part why my landing sucked, because I had to keep my throttle way down in order to get the plane to angle down. So just kind of a conglomerate of issues with autopilot on that. Now, this is a runway. I don't know why it's asking me to taxi on a runway. I'm just not going to do that. I had such a good flight coming into DFW with the autopilot, and I just don't know why this one... I don't know what I did differently. I've got to assume it's something I did, some setting I hit, or just something somewhere that I did not do right. But I just can't figure out what that setting actually is that would have caused so many catastrophic issues with the autopilot. I managed to recover a good chunk of that and get the plane down. I think if I hadn't gone full flaps at the end there, I would have been able to keep my flare. I lost enough speed at the last moment there when I hit third level of flaps that I would have, I think, been okay to continue at that level and bring it in. I think that would have been the ideal way of managing it instead of going the full flaps. Now, had I been able to come in properly, then I could have modulated my speed, slowly reduced, and then engaged the full flaps. I did not engage full flaps when coming into DFW. And so I kind of came in a little hot because of that. And based on how I modulated the throttle by basically turning throttle off until I hit the third level of flaps, I think I could have done it. And I think that would have made it a much better landing. But fun flight. I'm just really disappointed in the game itself on this one because I'd like to know where my textures are. I'd like to know why the textures broke and didn't stay on the system. And then I'd like to understand what exactly happened with the autopilot and what I did that would have messed it up in such a manner. Because I'm really confused as to what happened. I don't know. I just cannot seem to figure out what I did that would have caused it to have that level of an issue or a failure. And I'm kind of confused why it's taking me the route it's taking me over to my apron, but okay, whatever. So I'm going to call it here. Not much else to see. I'm going to taxi in, and then I will do the next video. Hopefully after a complete reload, I'm going to force some verification of offline files, see if that corrects any of the issues, but we'll see if that takes care of my texture problems so that the next flight we can actually see the fun of my low-level pass around Montreal, and we can see kind of the pretty city of Toronto as we depart. Now, I figured that, again, because I was on the left side of the airplane and the way this approach went, I didn't get to see much of Toronto until the departure, and that's when I actually got to see basically everything, because I was looking out the right side of the airplane on my departure, and when we went, I was able to see all of downtown Toronto. I was able to see all of Montreal as we made our turning approach around the city, so that made that kind of fun. I'd been to Toronto twice. Second time was for a specific meeting in the city, but didn't really see or do anything. So thank you all for watching. Sorry for all the problems and glitches, but again, this is what we're trying to learn and figure out and assess, and I'm really going to be curious the next time I make a flight, which will probably be the return from from Montreal to DFW, before we do some large-scale international flights. I'm going to be curious if the Neo responds properly, because that's going to be the next time I'm in that plane. And then I'm not sure, just as a teaser, which plane I'm going to use for my overseas flight. I may break out and test the 747 for the first time, or I may just do the 787 as more of the overseas flight. And I'm probably going to do a flight from Chicago to, I'll do Dallas to Chicago or Dallas to Heathrow. I'm not sure yet. I haven't fully decided, but just a bit of taste of what's to come. So thank you for watching again, and we will see you next time.